Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here, also known as ETCG1 on this here channel. And on ETCG1, we talk about stuff. We don't do repair videos. If you want repair videos, head on over to Eric the Car Guy and we'll have plenty of repair videos for you over there. I'll put a link in the description to make it easy for you. How about that? However, if you want to join in the discussion, stick around. Today's topic of discussion is sort of spawned from comments that were made to the last video I posted about the future of diagnostics. And the discussion that came about in the comments was basically about labor rates and what a customer pays, and in some ways what a technician gets paid. And I thought I might touch on that topic a little bit here, and I guess we'll call this video, Are Automotive Labor Costs Too High? I mean, it's a fair question, it really is. But there's two sides to this. This time, I'm going to start with the side of the customer. You have a vehicle, maybe you bought it new, maybe you bought it used, and something's going wrong with it. Something is happening to it that you don't quite understand, you don't know how to fix, you don't know how to repair, maybe you don't have the tools to do it, but you're gonna need to go to a garage and have some work done. I think this puts a customer in a mindset to where they're already at a disadvantage, to where they are not capable of understanding or not capable due to tools or some limitation is holding them back from doing this work themselves. So they need to go to another place and entrust their vehicle and in essence their safety to someone else. And that someone else may be someone they trust. If you're fortunate enough to have a shop that you trust, hold on to them, because they're like gold. They really are. They know you, you know them, you've got a relationship going on. Maybe they work on not only your car, maybe your friends' cars, and you brought them repeat business. Everybody's happy. But say you just moved to a new place and you're not familiar with the area, you don't have a relationship with a local garage, and you've got to go out and find one. Well, that is can be a very painful process for a customer, because in all honesty, there are a lot of shops out there that don't necessarily live up to the expectations of the customer. Now, part of that relies on the customer and their expectations, granted. But another part of that relies on the people doing the work. Let's say lazy people, let's say people who are looking to, basically turn every work order into a lottery ticket. You know, any number of things on both sides of that fence, either the expectations or the shop itself doesn't quite jive, and the customer walks away unhappy. Well, what makes them even more unhappy is when they look at the labor charge and they say, you're charging me $100 an hour for labor, and it's 3 hours worth of work to do the work that needs to be done. So that's just in labor alone, $300, not to mention the parts. How is that fair? That's a fair question. And now I'm going to go on the technician side or shop owner side of things. As a shop owner, as a conscientious shop owner, you want to maintain and have the best equipment possible at your disposal so that you can get through your day. And that's no joke, because a lot of what you do as a technician, as a shop owner, is you get through a day. Auto mechanics is not exactly the easiest profession to get into. Challenging, rewarding, but not easy. And I say not easy because things that may seem easy in auto repair sometimes turn out to be very difficult. And things that sometimes are very difficult turn out to be easy. I think the line in one of my favorite movies is, sometimes you eat the bar and sometimes the bar eats you. Well, that is absolutely true, especially when it comes to auto repair. So you try to outfit your shop with the latest equipment. Say you've got the latest diagnostic equipment, because let's face it, especially if you're working in an independent shop, you have any number of things coming through the door. It could be a European make, Japanese make, an American, 4 or 5 American makes, or maybe an American truck to throw it into the mix, something, and they all have unique problems, they all have unique designs, they all have unique engineering. They're all different. The analogy is with doctors. Mechanics, I often hear them compare themselves to doctors. As a mechanic, your model year changes, less than every year. Whereas as a doctor, your model hasn't changed since, let's argue 2 million years. So as a doctor, yeah, you keep up with the latest and greatest technologies and things like that. And I'm not belittling doctors, not in the slightest. What I'm saying is there is a mixed bag of things. And also, like a doctor, as a technician, you have to be prepared for whatever. And the way you stack the deck in your favor, once again, is you're purchasing, sometimes some pretty high dollar equipment, things that may or may not be available to you as a consumer. Say the latest and greatest scanner. Maybe that sets you back somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000. Now this may come with some really great tech support, and the scanner itself has some really great software that allows you to understand problems with vehicles that you've never seen before. Because let's face it, there's a new one that runs through the door all day long, and you have to deal with that one that's got this problem and this one that's got this problem. They all have different problems, they all have different designs, they all have different owners, and they all are treated differently. So it's a mixed bag of things that come through the door. So just in, like say, the scan tool, you've got, I would say at the very bare minimum, like around $5,000 invested into that scanner. Then you've got your tire machine, you've got your brake lathe, you've got a toolbox full of thousands of dollars worth of tools. And in some instances, special tools are required to perform certain operations. And those special tools need to be purchased. It's not like, maybe you can figure out a workaround, something like maybe you can make your own tool. All those things are great because that puts money in your pocket. But it is a never-ending onslaught of things that you need to buy. It's a never-ending expense. And things that are coming through the door that you either are unprepared for or need to prepare for constantly. So your investment in your diagnostics and your tool set is substantial and ongoing. In addition to that, you need to stay up on your education, because to have the tools is one thing, but not to know how to use them is just a crime in and of itself. So you've got the latest and greatest scanner and you bought it. Well, I know some companies out there that actually send out technicians when you buy these scanners so that they can teach you how to use them properly, how to use them effectively, how you can get your money's worth out of that investment. And they do this because they are that complex. And vehicles that are out there, particularly later model vehicles, are pretty darn complex. I mean, they have systems, computer-controlled systems, talking to each other through communication lines. They have their own language, and you need to understand that language, and you need to be able to tap into that conversation. I mean, these are all things that you have to know as a technician, as a diagnostician in particular. And as a shop owner or that technician, you have to make that continuing investment, not only in your tools, but also your education. This is ongoing. This never ends. You as the customer pay a flat fee. That flat fee is the hourly labor rate. Also in that hourly labor rate is keeping the lights on, paying the rent, the water bill, waste removal, oil waste removal, and the list goes on and on. Payroll, taxes, Social Security, insurance, all of these things eat into your labor rate. And you figure up your labor rate based on the amount of time that you're open, based on what you're paying your technicians or what you're paying yourself, and you come up with what you believe to be a fair number to break even. And I say that, those labor rates you're looking at, for the most part, those shops are breaking even. Maybe less so at dealerships, and I'm just going to throw that out there because dealerships have a different set of circumstances than, say, the independent shop owner. A dealership is going to have, a dealership has to pay to be a dealership in a way. A dealership, has to pay some kind of homage to the manufacturer. A dealership is an independently owned franchise. It's not like the car maker owns that dealership. No, they have an agreement with that dealership and the owners of that dealership so that they can exchange proprietary information, put their badges out on the front of the place, that kind of thing. There's an arrangement that happens there, and it's a financial arrangement between both people. And you come up with a labor rate based on that. So labor rates, as expensive as they are to you, the customer, and as frustrating as they can be sometimes, are really not all that much. Because I'm going to say, like, the top tier technicians in the United States, I would say on average are getting paid $25, $26 an hour. Some get paid more in major metropolitan areas and things like that, but I'm talking about a general average. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. If you're getting paid more or less than that, let us know. But I'm just going to throw that out there as a ballpark figure. So for the sake of argument, we'll say $25 an hour just to make it easy numbers. The labor rate for easy numbers, $100 an hour. So that leaves you $75 per every work hour billed to use for that overhead that you have that I talked about. And I'm going to say that that overhead pretty much breaks even with that labor rate. I don't really think that shops are getting rich on labor rates. I don't think they're raising labor rates so that they can make money. I think they're raising labor rates so they can keep up with the cost of operation. Where you really make your money in the shop, and this may or may not be the best kept secret in the industry, is your parts markup. The better relationship you have with your parts distributor, and maybe the better their list prices are, the better off you're going to do. Because the parts markup, I don't want to call it free money, but it's the closest thing to free money you're going to see in this industry, in this business. That is where the money's at. So if you're going to yell at anything, if you're going to be, like, this is so unfair, look at the parts markup. That's where you're going to see the most. And I've seen markups, and I'm not going to say where, in the neighborhood of 80%. And that's business, okay? That's capitalism at work. Whether or not you're getting taken advantage of as a customer, it's difficult to say. The only time I've ever owned my own shop is here, and I don't run this like a shop. This is a production studio, so it's really not fair of me to come in here and say this. I'm speaking from my experiences working for these shops, both independent and both dealership. And that's what I've seen. I've seen the money, as far as labor goes, as breaking even. I'm seeing the money as far as parts markup goes, that's where it's at. And I think that's the reason why some places have a commission-based pay scale, because they're really not making the money on the labor, they're making their money on the commissions, on the parts that they're selling. So they try to sell a certain brand of parts or something like that, or some distributor comes out and says, I'll give you a deal if you can sell 100 of these, I'll sell you a pallet dirt cheap and make it really worth your while. That's where the money is in this business. So don't blame the labor rate. Take a look at the parts prices and the parts markup. We'll get into that in a whole other video, but I'm really trying to speak towards the labor rate and the discussion that was started in the last video and in the comments of the last video. And that, labor's too darn expensive, you guys are just rip-off artists, blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna tell you, I understand how frustrating it is as a customer, how frustrating it is to hand your keys over to somebody else and have them do work for you, and how nervous that can make you. It's one of the reasons I'm a technician today, is because I never felt comfortable in that situation. My choice was basically to become an automotive technician, so I never had to worry about that again. Go for it. If that's you, I say go for it. Go out into the world, learn your trade, go through the day-to-day, do it for 20 years and get back to me and let me know how you feel about the labor rate then. But right now, you're on the other side of the counter. And what I'm telling you is we're not trying to rip you off with the labor rate. We're probably just barely breaking even with the labor rate. If there's any profit in there, it's small. It's really small. And the technicians, at best, are probably seeing 25% of that labor rate that you see. So don't look at that technician and say he's rolling in it, because he's not. He's probably staying late. He's working out in a hot shop, sweating his balls off, or cold in the wintertime with ice and junk dripping down the back of your neck. It's a difficult, thankless job sometimes. You have to really love it. You have to really, really love it to get into it. And after a few years, you may not love it so much anymore. You may become to see it as a job and you're just trying to collect that check. You're just trying to break even. So, food for thought for you, dear viewers. Please respond in the comments, but even more so, head on over to my website, ericthecarguy.com. There'll be a link in the description to a discussion about this very video. Click it. Come on over. Join us in the conversation of all things that we talk about here. Or, feel free to make your comments below. Either way, doesn't matter. As long as you're participating. We value your opinion here at Eric the Car Guy and ETCG1. And that's a fact. And even if it's an opposing opinion, doesn't matter. It's an opinion. It's valid. It's valid. And we respect it. So long as you show that respect in return. I'm Eric the Car Guy. You can always find me over at ericthecarguy.com, where if you have automotive questions, I would ask that you, type in a couple of keywords to the search function at the top of the page there. If you don't get an answer to your problem, keywords, by keywords, I mean, like brake noise, engine blew up, something like that. If something doesn't come up that you find useful there, feel free to sign up for a form, absolutely free. All you need is an email address. Just be sure to respond to the confirmation email that should show up in your inbox. If it doesn't show up in your inbox, check your spam folder, bulk folder, that kind of thing. Look around for it. It got sent to you. It just got somewhere. Sign up for a forum, ask your questions over at Service and Repair, and we will do our best to try and help you with that issue. You can connect with me socially on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter, and I close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, and of course, stay dirty. I will see you next time.